In her hands, the champion's trophy remained warm. Alex Eala had just won the Birmingham Open with the most dominant performance of her grass court career, while the Philippine flags continued to fly. However, she didn't discuss her serve or forehand when she took the microphone for her post-match press conference. Instead, she spoke about something that left millions of Filipino fans fighting back tears and every reporter in the room in disbelief. A confession about her trip that no one anticipated, the true cost of pursuing a dream, and the unreported hidden costs. Why is Alex Eala's speech regarded as the most honest of her career, and what did she tell about the financial realities of professional tennis? Trophy Ceremony, Edgbaston Priory Club, Birmingham, England, June 7, 2026, 6 p.m. In the dusklight, the silver award shone brightly. The Philippine flags responded by waving as Alex Eala held it above her head. Her name was sung by 25,000 voices. The largest grass court triumph of her short career, she had just won her maiden title of the 2026 season. The audience anticipated pleasure and celebration, but what they received was something much more sincere. Eala didn't discuss her forehand when the tournament official handed her the microphone. She refrained from discussing her backhand. She failed to express gratitude to her crew. Not initially. She discussed money. She started out by saying, "I want to thank everyone who has supported me." Her voice was calm but had an edge that had not been there in her other statements. 4 years, not just today or this week. She stopped and glanced down at the award she was holding. People believe I've succeeded when they see this trophy and the prize money, but that's not the whole story. The audience fell silent. The whole narrative includes the years of sacrifice, the restless nights spent on the other side of the globe, the months spent apart from my family, the coaching costs that my parents could hardly afford, and the flights to competitions where I made nearly nothing and lost in the opening round. For a little while, her voice caught. I received $332,160 after winning the Miami Open semifinals in 2026. That may seem like a lot, but after taxes, paying my crew, and paying for all of our travel and lodging, there wasn't much left over. Center court was silent. Eala's remarks weren't meant to be critical, rather, they were about the truth and the unseen price of pursuing a dream. The winner's check was $33,650, a substantial sum, according to the Birmingham Open prize money breakdown. However, the financial reality is harsh for a player like Eala, who is rising through the ranks but is not yet in the elite tier of sponsorship income. Taro Daniel, a Japanese athlete, recently disclosed that his monthly operating costs, which do not include coaching salaries, amount to over $20,000 and include lodging, food, and flights. The financial reality is harsh for a player like Eala, who is rising through the ranks but is not yet in the elite tier of sponsorship income. Eala went on, "I'm not saying this to make anyone feel sorry for me. I say this because, like me, there are children in the Philippines who are currently practicing on cracked courts. They need to know the truth because they want to be where I am." Her gaze went over the throng taking in the tear-streaked faces, the Philippine flags, and the little girls holding banners that said, "Alex, you make us proud." In actuality, becoming a professional tennis player is costly, traveling is costly, training is costly, the cost of competing is high. Additionally, the prize money doesn't usually cover the fees. Unless you place in the top 10, she inhaled deeply. "Thus I'm grateful. We appreciate all of the fans that purchase tickets. We are grateful to all Filipinos who raised a flag. I am grateful to my family for their selfless sacrifices, without which I would not be standing here." Instead of the customary scream of celebration, the crowd broke into something more akin to a group cry. And Quezon City champion Alex Eala, 21, wiped a tear from her eye and raised the trophy one more time. Always, Laban. However, the word had a different meaning this time. June 2026, professional tennis behind the scenes. On June 7, 2026, Alex Eala's victory at the Birmingham Open was filmed on camera. It was a triumphant occasion to get the $33,650 winner's check. However, the mountain of costs that enabled that triumph and the financial realities faced by all professional tennis players outside of the top ranks of the sport were not captured by those cameras. The figures are astounding. A professional tennis player must spend at least $20,000 a month on lodging, meals, travel, and basic logistics, according to Japanese player Taro Daniel, who has been in the top 150 of the ATP for many years. Before paying coaches or trainers a single salary, that comes to $240,000 annually. What about the coaches? At Daniel's level, a traveling coach receives a base wage of at least $50,000 per year in addition to a commission of roughly 10% of the for an additional $50,000. Add a physical trainer. Include the team's travel costs, which are seldom covered by tournaments aside from the player's personal lodging. A player ranked roughly 100th in the world would pay about $440,000 a year. Compare that to the wages now. Over the course of a season, a player placed 100th may get $500,000 in prize money. Add $20,000 from a racket contract and $50,000 from a shirt sponsor. $570,000. That sounds cozy until you deduct the $440,000 in expenses and the $130,000 net profit for a year of travel sacrifice and the relentless pressure of professional competition, and that's for a player ranked 100th. Eala entered the Birmingham Open ranked 37th, which is higher than Daniel's comparative ranking, but her expenses are comparable, if not higher. She travels with a team, pays for coaching, and covers flights, lodging, and meals for herself and her staff over 4 continents. Eala won $12,331 in prize money as she advanced to the ASB Classic semi-finals in Auckland in January 2026. That sounds substantial for a week of competition, but the net take-home drastically decreases after taxes. Withholding taxes from foreign nations which can account for 15 to 30% of earnings, and after paying her team's expenses. Speaking about publicized prize money figures, Daniel told the Financial Times that figure you see is super not real. First of all, since you are earning all of this money from overseas, all withholding taxes will be deducted. The total prize money in the Birmingham Open was $225,000, a 33.85% more than the year before. The $33,650 winner's check was the biggest in the tournament's history, but Eala's net profit was far lower than the headlines indicated because she had spent the entire week on her team's travel, lodging, and meals. My credit card balance shows that, excluding my team's salaries, I spend at least $20,000 a month on just operating costs like lodging, meals, and travel. As a tennis player, you might think of yourself as a tiny business with constantly traveling personnel. The gorgeous pictures of sponsor events and trophy celebrations conceal a grind that most fans are unaware of. Late-night flights following first-round defeats, cheap lodgings when prize money is scarce, and the difficult choice of whether to travel alone to save money or bring a physiotherapist to a smaller tournament. In the immediate aftermath of her greatest victory, Eala's candor regarding these realities was not just a confession but also a plea to the sport's regulatory bodies and a warning to the future generation. At the Birmingham Open, the winner received a $33,650 check. For Eala, standing on center court with a trophy in her hands, that amount might seem like a life-altering sum to most spectators, but it only told a small portion of the narrative. Let's examine what happens to the $33,650 in reality. The withholding taxes come first. The host country receives a portion of any prize money earned by a player outside of their home country before the participant receives any money at all. Depending on tax treaties, the withholding tax for tournaments held in the UK may vary from 15% to 30%. That's between $5,000 and $10,000 gone right away on a $33,650 check. Then there are the costs that aren't covered by the competitions. Although Eala was given hotel accommodations by the Birmingham Open, her coach's lodging was not covered. Her trainer's meals were not covered. Her team's flights, ground transportation, and additional baggage fees for tennis equipment were not covered. Eala had to pay for all of those expenses. Expenses out of her own pocket, and the total swiftly mounts. Japanese tennis player Taro Daniel, who has spent years in the top 150 of the ATP, claims that a professional tennis player's monthly operating costs, including lodging for teammates, food, and travel, come to at least $20,000. That comes to $240,000. Prior to giving trainers or coaches a single salary each year. At Daniel's level, a traveling coach receives a minimum base income of $50,000 per year in addition to a commission of roughly 10% of the player's winnings. An additional $50,000 is added by a physical trainer. Travel costs can reach $240,000 per year for the entire team, which are rarely covered by tournaments beyond the player's personal lodging. What is the annual total cost of a player who is rated approximately 100th in the world? About $440,000. Compare that to your wages now. Over the course of a season, a player placed 100th may get $500,000 in prize money. Add $20,000 from a racket contract and $50,000 from a shirt sponsor. $570,000 for a player who regularly makes it to the second week of tournaments. The net profit is $130,000 after deducting the $440,000 in expenses for a year of travel, sacrifice, and the unrelenting pressure of professional competition. Daniel's comparative rating was lower than Eala's when she joined the Birmingham Open at number 37, but her costs were comparable, if not more. Throughout a 4-continent worldwide calendar, she travels with a team, pays for coaching, and covers her own and her employees' airfare, lodging, and meals. Eala won $12,331 in prize money when she advanced to the ASB Classic semi-finals in Auckland in January 2026. That sounds substantial for a week of competition, but the net take-home decreased significantly after taxes and paying for her team's expenses. She made only $3,450 when she advanced to the quarterfinals of the Philippine Women's Open, a domestic competition with low travel expenses. Birmingham, England, Edgbaston Priory Club, Centre Court, June 7, 2026. They are the numbers that never happened. The champion, Eala, stood at the microphone with tears in her eyes as the Philippine flags waved and Lebanese cheers reverberated throughout the arena. But the victory wasn't the only reason for the tears. She switched to Tagalog and stated, "Salamat sa bawat sakripisyo. I appreciate all of your sacrifices." She gazed out at the sea of Filipino faces, including grandparents who had flown from Manila to see history, OFWs who had taken valuable vacation days, and families who had traveled from all over the United Kingdom. I am aware that a lot of you spent money that wasn't necessary for you to be here. I am aware that some of you sacrificed your own aspirations to support mine, took time off from work, and saved for months. Her voice broke. I will never, ever take the fact that I see and feel you for granted. Strangers hugged each other as the throng sobbed. A tiny child in the front row hid her face in her mother's shoulder while holding a hand-painted sign that said, "Alex, you make us proud." With a more steady voice, Eala went on, "This trophy is not only mine, it belongs to all Filipinos who have ever thought that a Filipino could